Hello and welcome to the Artist Behind the Music Canadian series. Today we have Cinzia and the Eclipse joining us from Montreal. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. I'm excited to hear more about your journey in life and music and how you got to where you are today. So let's talk about your musical project name. Where does that come from?
So it's actually a funny story because when me and some of the musicians that I started playing, it was just Cinzia, and it felt a little bit weird. I felt like there was a lot of attention just on me, which you would think as like a lead person in music, you'd love that, but not constantly. So I decided to add Cinzia and the Eclipse to it to kind of give a little bit of a head nod to, the live band that I work with, the producers that I work with, videographers, everyone who's kind of given a hand in the whole musical project that is Cinzia and the Eclipse. It's kind of my way of making sure everyone gets the proper credit because I absolutely cannot do it alone.
I really like that. Just that idea of, when there's an artist on stage, a lot of people don't realize how many people it takes behind that artist to get to that point, to get your music out there. And it's not just the artist creating some tunes and putting them on stage. It's just there's so much more to music than just performing.
Yeah, 100%. And, I definitely write the songs and come up with the melodies and stuff. The stories are my own, but they would not be what they are without the people that I work with.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, big shout out to all the people behind the scenes in the music industry because you all help make our jobs much easier.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So how did you get started in music? Was it something that was always in you or something that evolved over time? What does your story look like?
Yeah, so my dad used to sing a lot around the house. Like my little sister, when she was younger, she thought that Bon Jovi stole my dad's songs because he'd sing Bon Jovi around the house and was really good at it. So I mean, my house has always been full of music growing up, and as a little kid, you have that dream of being like an actress and a singer. So I had like my little dollar store microphone going around the house with it,
Yeah.
but it was never like something I took seriously. I honestly thought that I would be behind the scenes. Like I was really convinced that I would be a booking manager or a tour manager, so much so that I studied music business and was like, okay, I'm gonna like work my butt off to, showcase the best talent this world has. And I worked in radio doing promotion. I worked as a booking promoter and stuff, doing some stuff for about 4 years. And then one of my friends heard me sing and was like, we need to put you on a stage. And I was like, no, I have too many insecurities to be on stage. And he was like, no, let's just record something. So we did that. And I also realized like, if music was really gonna be something that I was gonna pursue, I knew I couldn't half-ass it because I've seen artists work hard. I've seen people who weren't 100% in it, not necessarily fail, but not do well because you need to be 100% in it and you need to be there for the right reasons because I mean, we all know it's not like this big money ball thing that happens, you're really doing it out of passion. So, I knew that it was going to be an all in or all out kind of thing. And we recorded one song. It sounded really great. And I think the fact that I had a friend kind of push me and be like, you have to record this, that was kind of like the confirmation to me of like, okay, like it's go big or go home at this point. So, I always thought that the years that I spent working behind the scenes in music kind of hindered me because I was like, oh my God, I wasted so much time not actually being an artist. Whereas in retrospect, it helped me so much because, the contacts that I made weren't because I was like, hey, I'm an artist, play me on your radio station. It was more like, hey, what's up? Let's be friends. No. So now those relationships kind of grew with me, which is awesome. And they're real and authentic. And they're not just me trying to, entice someone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and the knowledge that I have in my back pocket, everything music related has really, really benefited me. And now here we are. And I haven't looked back since.
That's amazing. And it's so true that again, just talking back about, it's not just the performer on the stage, there's just so much more behind it. And it's so important to be an entrepreneur, have that business background, have that knowledge of what is the music industry about, because it's a business. It's not just
Yeah,
creating artistic works to share with the world. It's how are we going to get this artistic work out to the world? And that is where the business falls
exactly.
in. And that's the most, I would say that's 80% of the job.
Yeah, I totally agree. And especially now that it's so easy to put out your own music, which I find is a blessing and a curse because there's so much more noise now.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. And, one thing that I tell a lot of people that follow me or look up to me or, that are younger and just like, oh my God, I want to do what you do. I'm always like, you know what? Realize that if you're doing this, it's not going to be all that you're doing. It's not just being the artist. You're going to have to like learn the back end and how to promote yourself, how to, put together a campaign for your release because like you said, it's a business. You have to care about it.
Yeah.
And like I still have a part-time job outside of Cinzia The Eclipse to make it happen. Like you really have to realize how bad you want it.
Exactly. And the things that you have to do to make it happen. And it's not like, I always love to say you're not failing because you have a job outside of music. Like you're winning because you're able to do music and support yourself and,
Absolutely.
allow that
Yeah,
journey to
definitely.
continue is kind of how I see it. It's like, what do you have to do to make this happen? Right. And sometimes that's working something else and that's okay. Right. And
Yeah.
um, just learning the tools though. Do you have a favorite part of the business end of music?
Favorite part of the business end has to be the brainstorming that comes with marketing the songs. I'm like, I'm such an ideas person and I'm not really good at the steps of how to get there. So the whole brainstorm part, I'm like, oh my God, we could do this and do it like this and then have people interested because this. And like just growing that whole idea excites me a lot. And, I'm lucky enough to have friends and people that I work with that are able to kind of structure it and kind of anchor me in and be like,
Yeah,
okay, here's how we get there. But
I
yeah,
love that. I'm
brainstorms
an
are
ideas person
definitely,
too. It's just so
yeah,
fun, right? To make Pinterest boards and just say, I want to do this and I want to do this and I want this. And okay, how are we
yeah,
going to do that?
exactly. Yeah. It's like, okay, let's break it down now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. And what would you say is your least favorite part of just the industry in general?
Um, I think my least favorite, I don't know why I'm taking time to think about it. I know it's my least favorite. I hate pitching myself. It's this weird thing for me that I'm still kind of getting used to of, how to kind of humble brag.
Yeah.
For example, I got really, really lucky with my second single, No Matter, that hit 1 million streams in the first like year, first 6 months or something. And, everyone that I've worked with has always been like in meetings, you have to push the fact that, you have over 1 million streams and like now it's at 4 and, you have this. And I'm like, how am I supposed to subtly say like, yeah, by the way, I have 4 million streams. Like it's tough. I find, it's tough to kind of humble brag for me, but I realize when I'm in meetings talking with the right people who get me, things just flow. So
Right.
I don't necessarily have to like go down a bulletin, like bullet points of how awesome I am. Like it comes out naturally. But pitching is definitely difficult. I'm still not used to being judged, whether it's for good or bad reasons.
You know what? I think it's sometimes a separation thing. You just have to see what you're doing as a product and take the this is me part out of it and be like, this is the product that I'm marketing. And I
Yeah.
find that always helps with that pitching mindset
Yeah.
because I've struggled with that in the past too. It's like, who am I? What do I do? Like,
It's
and
so
it's just
true. You're right. Once you
yeah,
make that distinction, it's a lot easier to kind of run your business for sure.
exactly. It's very important, I would say, to separate the two. Now you talked a little bit about being insecure and afraid to step into the spotlight on stage
Mhm.
at the beginning of all this. What kind of tools and tricks did you use to kind of overcome that barrier of being afraid?
Um, that's so tough because it's been a while now, right? And I don't kind of give in to my insecurities anymore. But growing up, I was extremely insecure, like physically and mentally. I was kind of like the weird kid. I wouldn't say I was weird. I was like, it's not like I wasn't well liked or anything, but I was just kind of like I never really had a place. I wasn't like that popular kid or that rock and roll kid or like those like cute girls or something. Like I was always that weird kid that was like playing AC/DC on my boombox, and like that wasn't cool when I was 13, you know? So, you know, I kind of hung out with everyone and knew everyone, but I never really had a place. And
Mm.
I think that's where a lot of my insecurities stemmed from. Again, this is like physically and mentally. And it was just something that I knew that if I wasn't okay with myself, I didn't want to see me on stage. So when I was about 21, I think it was 2021, I started going to therapy for a lot of like, okay, I need to learn to love myself. And she gave me lots of like tools and tips on, you know, how to get there eventually, because it's not like an overnight thing, right? Where you wake
Oh,
up
it's a
and you're
journey,
ready.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I still struggle with it now for sure. But when I had first started, she was like, okay, you know what? Every morning, write something that you like about yourself that day and like stick it on your mirror. And, you know, every day there's more and more. And it's just that practice of complimenting yourself and enjoying your own company, not trying to like, uh, basically outrun yourself a little bit, because that's definitely something I would do. Like I would never stay home alone. I was be like, I was like, I do not want to be with my thoughts.
Mm.
But yeah, you just kind of have to like embrace yourself. And once I did that, I was like, okay, I could totally do music. Like I'm confident in myself at this point. And like I said, I was either going all in or not at all. So, you know, some of the tricks that I had learned, I still do to this day. Like when we used to play shows before COVID, so sad. But you know, after the shows, I'd kind of go in the green room, write 3 things that I really loved about the show, so I can look at it later on. Because you know, the rush of a show is so rare that the second you're not on stage, you're like, oh my god, like
Is so true. I actually have a rule where nobody's allowed to criticize the performance for at least like an hour after the show. Like you're just not
mm,
allowed to say anything negative, any mistakes that happen, like nothing.
that's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually really smart, because I would totally do that. And like, I think I know a lot of musicians who would do that. They get off stage and they're like, oh, we missed that chord, but the
Yeah.
crowd didn't notice
No.
anything, you know?
And
Yeah,
when you
you're
start
totally right.
celebrating the wins instead of focusing on the negative aspect, then it's just so much easier
Yeah.
to celebrate the experience and really be present. I was just reading
Yeah.
in a book the other day that it takes 2.97 positive thoughts to cancel a negative thought. So basically, you know, when you have one negative thought, you need to say 3 positive things to cancel that emotion. And that's a lot
Wow.
because we're so
Yeah.
programmed and trained to focus on what we need to improve on or focus where we failed quotation.
Yeah.
But so I just find it so interesting, and it's so important to focus on the wins. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally.
So good. Those are some good little tricks though, you know, sticky notes on the mirror and, you know, getting off stage and writing 3 things you loved about it. And if it's not performing live now, then, you know, it's when you're live streaming.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally. What was 2020 like for you? I mean, we're still kind of in that same muck, but what were some takeaways that you had from the shift in life?
Yeah, honestly, I had a pretty good year. I can't complain, because I really tried to twist it all into a positive. And I remember in March, in like yeah, February and March, there was actually a lot of wheels kind of spinning for me music wise, and I was meeting people that I wanted to work with. It was kind of like we were getting onto that next level, and then COVID kind of punched me in the gut and put all those meetings on hold, because a lot of it was in Toronto, and I'm still in Montreal, you know, and I love my city with all my heart. But there's a lot of people in Toronto that I wanted to work with. And I remember it was March 13th. My guitarist and I were driving to Toronto to play. No, sorry, we were driving to London, Ontario to play a show with So Far Sounds. And it got canceled while we were driving there because of COVID restrictions were finally happening, and they were being
Yeah.
like a lot more strict. Like they were closing down events at this point. So we're like halfway to Ontario, and we kind of stopped at an en route, and we're trying to figure out like, okay, well, you know what? We still have a couple of meetings. We'll just go for the meetings and enjoy our time. And we're like, okay, maybe we should call and make sure. So we called, we're like, hey, are we still on? They're like, yeah, no problem. It's not an event, so it's cool. Once we got to the city, they were like, yeah, we have to cancel. Like, we don't have a choice. And it sucked because like you could hear it in their voices. They didn't want to and we didn't want to. But I mean, you also have to respect what's going on, especially because it was so new. So it started off like, the whole pandemic started off pretty rough because I felt like everything was just on hold. We didn't know for how long. And then when we got back to Montreal, I noticed a lot of people doing lives on Instagram, lives on Facebook. So I kind of felt this pressure and this rush to do it too. But I didn't necessarily want to because, again, mentally, I just wasn't there. I was so torn about not being able to sit down with these people. And I kind of realized my sister is kind of like the positive voice in my head, my older sister. And she was kind of saying, like, why would you do something that you don't want to? Like, your whole thing is about being authentic and not being forced to do anything. Why would you just do it to do it? I was like, oh my God, like, obviously, you're right.
Yeah.
So, I didn't do any of the lives. I didn't really post anything. I was kind of trying to get my ducks in a row. And we were supposed to release an EP as well in, at the beginning of the year in 2020. And I was like, well, how are we going to do this now? Because we can't tour. I don't want to rely on social media only because anyone will tell you social media is not a marketing campaign. Like, there's so much more behind it. And, because I took the time to really sit with myself. Sorry, I know I talk a lot.
No, it's great. I love it.
Okay, good. But yeah, because I took that time to really like sit with myself and realize what I want to do with music, what I want to make Cinzia The Eclipse about, and how I want to actually put out this album without being able to tour. I was able to really find my brand and what I wanted. So with that in mind, we had the album called Little Italy. And we kind of did a virtual tour that would have been completely impossible if it wasn't for the pandemic. So we did 4 shows virtually in different spots in Little Italy in Montreal that either inspired the song, or I wrote a song there, had an event with a person that the song is about at this location. And it added this kind of personal aspect that I really like to push as an artist, and I like letting people in and getting personal and, being a little bit vulnerable. So it was a really cool way to do a live, show the songs, but also bring people into the stories behind it. And I wouldn't have been able to do that with like, let's say touring, because we'd just be at a random venue that I've never been at. Whereas you can like see in the videos, there's like such a personal aspect with the whole people that I worked with too. And it all came together really easily. We were happy to like promote local businesses in Little Italy too, while they were getting, not as many customers because of COVID.
Yeah.
So it was just on so many different tiers. It was such a great way to kind of promote my city, promote like businesses that I love, and show a different side of the music too. So I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, I think it's amazing.
So yeah, it was a good year.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
I think just taking the wins, right? Again, just coming back to that, like, how can we focus on the good things? I mean, I know for so many people, this has just been a really awful time, and it's just a very weird thing to move through. But if we can focus on the good things that are happening around us and within us, then I think it's a lot easier to move through the craziness.
Yeah, exactly. And I find it helps us appreciate the good things too, right? Like you can't have the good without the bad. But yeah, I mean, it's just important to not sulk in it for too long.
Totally. Put a timer on. That's another rule. I'm like, want to feel bad? Time. You have 1 hour. Feel the feels and move on. Well, that's awesome. Well, I'd love to hear
1 hour, write a song about it.
Yep, exactly. Write a song about it. And and on that note, I would love to hear you play a song if you're ready.
Sure. Yeah. It's so funny because this is like my songwriting guitar and my guitar that I usually play with. Well, I don't usually play guitar at shows, so this is a special little moment. Cool. So it's actually a song that's not out, but I love it a lot. It's called What About Now? And yeah, it's a song. It goes like this. Lately I've been trying to figure out what happens if the ink ever runs out. Will you stick around? Will you stick around? What if my mind gets lost in the wind? What if the words don't come out the way they did before? Forever it all. What if I lose it all? What if I never get up the next time I fall? What if I fall behind? What if I never get up, never put up another fight? What about now? What about now? What about now? Do you think we'll ever figure it out? What if everything I am falls flat? What if the feelings never come back? Tell me how do they live like that? What if this world never fills me up? What if these words are never enough to show you how I'm feeling now? What if I lose it all? What if I never get up the next time I fall? What if I fall behind? What if I never get up, never put up another fight? What about now? What about now? What about now? Do you think we'll ever figure it out? What about now? What about now? What about now? Do you think we'll ever figure it out? Ooh, ooh, ooh,
Oh, pretty. Oh my gosh, I love that song, and I love your voice. It's just so soothing. I'm just sitting here playing and totally lost in the poetry of your lyrics, and your voice sounds beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for saying so. Lyrics are super important to me. So whenever someone comments on the words, I'm always like, oh.
Oh, yeah, no, great songwriting. It's beautiful. Let's talk a little bit about your songwriting process. Do you have
Yeah,
a
sure.
specific way that you like to create music? Do you prefer co-writing by yourself? What does that look like for you?
So I usually write on my own a lot because everything that I've ever written stems from personal experience. So it's either that, I'm upset and I'll like grab my phone and type it out, or I'll write something in the morning, or I don't know if this happens to you, but it happens so often that I'll dream of a melody and try and like voice note it in my sleep. And I'm just like, I'll wake up and be like, and it sounds horrible. And I'm like, I don't know what that was. But yeah, usually I'll come up with the idea on my own, and I work really closely with my producer, Luca. And we've known each other since like high school, and that's just a huge coincidence. But he knows me so ridiculously well that, I can give him an idea of a song and he knows exactly what I mean melodically and can really translate that. And yeah, when I was in Toronto 2 years ago for Canada's Music Incubator, they set me up with a few writers and a few producers to kind of stem out to. And that was a little bit challenging for me because I hadn't done it before, but I wrote some of the best songs that way. And I think it's just important to challenge yourself and not get stuck on, writing alone and being in your own box. Because yeah, when I had the chance to write with other people, the music was incredible.
Yeah, it's neat. Hey, it just brings out maybe a different aspect and different opinions or different vibes, different things even within yourself get pulled out
Yeah,
from working with.
100%. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what do we have to look forward to from you?
Well, the
Do we
EP
know?
is
Is it day by day?
still it's day by day. No,
Yeah,
I definitely have a plan with where I want to go. With everything, it's just a matter of how and when, considering the state of the world right now.
totally.
And I still want to give my album a little bit of love before I put out anything new. So there's definitely some new songs that are kind of like next chapter of Cinzia The Eclipse, because in the past, a lot of my writing has been a lot of heartbreak and a lot of like sad stuff, which I love to write sad love songs, but I really wanted to step in a more like self-reflective way. So if anyone's had to listen to the album, it kind of ends with the song Runaway. That's totally about embracing your weirdness, basically running away and doing your own thing when the world is telling you to follow some sort of path, and
Yeah.
you're like, nah, fuck it, I'm gonna do my path.
Right.
So yeah, I kind of want to continue that storyline and dive a little bit deeper of finding your own way and doing what you want to do for the joy of doing it, and not necessarily because someone told you.
That's a very important thing. Do it your way, always. Everything that you do. I think it's really important to stay true to who you are. I can really tell that you live
Yes.
authentically, and I think that's really, really important in this world, especially, with the state of society and the way social media portrays how we should or should not be. I think it's even more important to live true to
Yes.
yourself. So kudos to you, my friend. That's fantastic. I always
Thank you.
love,
Yeah, I totally
yeah,
agree.
I always love ending these episodes with the question, if you had one message to share with the world, what would it be?
That's so easy. Authenticity over everything. Be
I
you. Don't. I feel like that's been like the theme of our day today.
It has, yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, exactly what you just said. If you're gonna do something, do it your way. Follow your path and don't let anyone kind of question it. But at the same time, be open-minded and embrace new ideas, but be unapologetically, authentically you, no matter what. As cheesy as that sounds.
No, it's not cheesy. It's perfect. I love it. And we all need to live by that. It's really
Yes.
important. That's how we live out our best self or our best life and, really get our purpose into action. So I'm a big believer in that as well.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. I wish you were in Montreal. We could totally like grab well, not now. We can't grab coffee now, but I feel like we'd get along. We have like the same mentality.
I love it. Well, I'm out there all the time. So, well, pre-COVID, I was out there all the time. So I'll be back again soon.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely show you the best coffee spots.
Excellent. I look forward to that. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. And I can't wait to chat with you again soon in
Me
Montreal
too. Yes. Or Calgary. Who
or
knows?
Calgary. You're welcome here too.